people, show you got heart. Now we're playing the game and we're totally scoring, learning how to make a virtual business boring, showing up every morning, ready for the show. I'ma get ready. Gold engaging virtual meetings 2.0.
All right, happy September. Here it's another episode of the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast, and we got a good one here for you today. If you're watching here on social media, do us a favor, hit subscribe, share, like, comment during the live program, and we're going to give you some shout outs, and you should, because we got such a special guest here today. We're going to, if you want all the episodes for the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast, go to engagingvirtualmeetings.online, subscribe, you get a new episode every week. And it's back in its 7th year, the Engaging Virtual Meetings Conference. You can go to this website or you can scan this QR code, get a free ticket, or even better, we're really talking about for only $9.97. You can come here and get a 5-minute video of you that is professionally edited and the conference in addition to 15 plus speakers. Now, talking about my guests, I'm so glad all of you are here today, right? This gentleman, he's a certified speaking professional and a Hall of Fame speaker. He has won not one, not two, but 29 Emmys for his work on an innovative TV show. He's a pilot, a scuba diver, he's played in a whole bunch of bands, but most of all, he's the author of a brand new book called Innovation Unleashed. Let's welcome Bill Stainton. Look, Bill, I even got walk-in music for you today.
It's me. When you said you had a special guest, I got excited. I was wondering who's it going to be. Now,
and you're like, oh, it's me. It's me.
Just be clear, it's Innovation Unleashed. It sounded like you said unleashed.
Oh,
so this has nothing to do with real estate. Although innovation is good for real estate. But all that aside, it's fantastic to be here with you, John.
Thank you so much, Bill. Congratulations on your new book, and
Thank you.
We're going to get into that a little bit today as a special part of that episode. Again, I think it's just released on Amazon?
In fact, the paperback just came out yesterday. Paperback version. The Kindle came out last week.
Well, before we get into the book, let's do this. There is still a few of my friends who actually don't know who you are, so let's make sure and introduce them.
The lucky ones.
It's only a few, Bill. So why don't you take a moment here, Bill, and share who you are and what you do in the world.
Who I am, I'm Bill Stainton. It says so right down there. There we go. I'm a keynote speaker. I speak on innovation, creativity, and how to think differently about things. In other words, how to look at a situation differently so you can spot the opportunities that everybody else misses. I've been speaking professionally for, I think over 20 years. Before that, as John mentioned, I was the producer of a hit comedy TV show based here in Seattle, although we were also syndicated on Comedy Central for 2.5 years. It was called Almost Live. Together, my team and I won over 100 Emmy Awards. I was lucky enough to win 29 of them. Oh, look, there's some right back there. 4 of them there. And then I've got a bunch of broken ones in my garage because they're fragile little statues, it turns out. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Bill. And highlight, too, was that there was actually at MoHI, which is our Museum of History and Industry, that there was an exhibit with artifacts from the show, and Bill came out with a small group.
Artifacts. That makes it sound very, very old. Artifacts, yeah, they were carefully chiseled out of the raw granite and then brushed off. Oh, look at this one.
It was like The Mummy, right, for TV. You know, somebody just did that too. They said, you know, what happens when you go on a museum visit with your kids and the computer you worked on in school is now behind a glass case?
Yeah.
It's like an Apple IIe.
Yep. That's about right.
So, but, you know, all these things we're talking about are around innovations. You've been studying innovation for such a long time. I read your first book, by the way. I just finished it, and I can't wait to finish all of your second book. But why innovation out of all the topics that you talked about? Let me know, like, why did you center your focus on innovation?
Well, a couple of reasons, I think, John. Nobody's ever actually asked me that before. First of all, because it occurred to me that for 15 years, when I was producing this TV show, this comedy TV show, we had to be innovative every single week on demand, whether we felt like it or not.
Yeah.
So in essence, I was producing a TV show, but I was also leading a 15-year innovation lab. I mean, we had to learn how to be innovative, like I said, on demand.
Yeah.
And then once that show came to an end, I was trying to figure out what to do. And I just couldn't help notice that innovation seemed to be this mysterious superpower to so many people and so many companies and so many teams. And I just got depressed about that because innovation is vital. And we
Yeah.
all have it. We all have the ability. We're born with the ability to be creative, to be innovative. Um, we're born with that. And yet I see companies struggling to differentiate themselves, struggling to deal with change. There's a lot of change, struggling to know what to do with disruption. The answer to all that is innovation. And they don't know how to do it. And because I had to learn over the course of these 15 years, I know how to do it. And
Yeah.
I know how to communicate how to do it. And that's kind of my mission. I want to bring innovation to the masses, as
Mm.
it were, and get it out of this like ivory tower of, oh, innovation is just reserved for the chosen few. We're all the chosen few. There is not a business, a company, an industry, or a team on this planet that doesn't have inherent innovation built into them and that can't profit, that can't benefit by unleashing that innovation, which is what I try to do in my keynotes, what I try to do in my book, what I try to do in my workshops, my innovation sprints, whether I'm speaking to 5,000 people or working with a team of 5 people. I want to unlock and unleash that innovation that they already have. They just don't know they have. And hopefully that'll make their businesses better. Hopefully it'll make their communities a better place and the world a better place.
I think that innovation too, if you're starting with this mindset that there's already enough innovation in the room, right? When you get, especially when you get a group of talented people around, and that part of a leader or somebody's job on the team is to unlock that creativity. One study, I had read some stories of innovation. Like one of them was the McDonald's Egg McMuffin. It was invented in my college hometown in Goleta.
Oh,
And
was it really?
yeah, yeah. There's actually a plaque inside of there, and then this. Listen to the end of the story. So first, he was trying to solve breakfast, and it's like
Right.
4 or 5 items, right? It's a muffin, an egg, a cheese, Canadian bacon, and I've told this to a food company and say, look, it was 4 items, but that person solved a problem and then sold it to headquarters, and that family is still receiving a royalty off of every egg McMuffin ever sold.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
And
I
so
remember.
that's what I'm saying. Innovation, right, can mean either money or things or resources that change the world.
Well, you know what? You really put your finger on it. I talk about this a lot in the book also. That innovation is not necessarily about inventing new things. It can
Yeah.
be. What it really is about is solving problems. And
Yeah.
you started this story by saying he saw a problem. Nobody was going to McDonald's for breakfast.
That's right.
They were losing the whole breakfast market. People were going there for lunch, for dinner, but breakfast is this, great untapped market. And so he thought, okay, well, how can we solve this? He didn't wait for corporate to solve it. So that's another thing a lot of us do. Like we see a challenge, a situation, or an opportunity, and we think, oh, I hope somebody does something about this. The innovator just takes it one step further and says, oh, what could I do about this? And so, yeah, you say this guy did this and it solved the problem and it sold it for headquarters, and his family and his progeny, from what you say, are still benefiting richly from it.
So you talked a little bit about this mission to bring innovation to everyone, and that was probably one of your reasons to write this book. What were some of the other reasons that you had to write this particular book?
I think I wanted to write this particular book. Look, there are lots of books out there on innovation. There are lots of books out there on virtually everything. There are lots of books out there on innovation. What I found with many of them, not all of them, but many of them, almost make it more complicated than less complicated. They make it, and some of them read like a college textbook, or like, here's the theory of innovation. Here's this.
Mm.
I I want innovation. I want everyday innovation for the common person. Aaron Copland wrote a piece of music called Fanfare for the Common Man. I want innovation for the common man and woman, for like the everyday person. This is not for the genius necessarily. You can be a genius, it doesn't hurt, but you don't have to be. This is just somebody who's trying to solve a problem, either in it could be their professional life or their personal life.
Hmm.
And so I wanted to write a book that was fun to read, but also practical. It's like, oh, I can do this. It's really fun when I do workshops or breakout sessions. A lot of times when I'm hired to be a keynoter,
Yeah.
they'll want me to do a breakout session as well. And the breakout session is really more like, let's roll up our sleeves and really put this to use in your situation. Like, you pick a challenge and we'll take the things I talked about in the keynote and apply
Do
them
it.
here.
Yeah.
And I get them working. And all of a sudden, John, it's amazing. You see their faces change when all of a sudden they realize, wait, this is innovation? Oh, well, I can do this. Because they don't know what innovation is. They think it's this lightning bolt that comes down from the sky and it just strikes. And they, oh, it's not that. Oh, this is all it is. Well, I know how to do this. That's why I wanted to write this book, because I wanted people to realize, like, oh, see, here's my whole thing, John.
Mm.
Innovation is easier than people think it is.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah.
Innovation is easier than people think it is. And that's really the big message. It's just a few things. Now, look, yes, just like anything else, you can go into the weeds with it and make it complicated. My job is to do just the opposite. When I speak to audiences, when I work with individual teams, I want them walking out of there thinking like, I can do this. I can do this today.
Yeah.
At least I can take this little piece and I can start doing it today and making a difference. Because now I understand what innovation really is and what innovation really isn't. I was wrong about what I thought innovation was. It's really just, like I say, and as you pointed out, it's really just solving a problem. It's really just seeing a situation and thinking to yourself, ooh, how can this be better? Again, as opposed to waiting and hoping somebody else solves the problem or fixes the issue or whatever. Just, ooh, how can we do this? And
One
there
of
are
the
any number
things
of ways to spark that. Yeah, go ahead.
One of the things that I read in the book too was talking about like your first episode to like towards the end, and that your team almost developed
Yeah.
like an operating system, right? And that you have this 15-year muscle that creativity actually got easier and easier as the show went along. And I think that's the other thing why sometimes it's like working out. Like the first time you work out is hard,
Right.
all right? But if you make it a habit, then now it's part of your life. I'm just
Right.
curious about that transition, if you have any insights around that for people.
It's exactly the same as working out. I'll tell you a little story about that. So while I was doing Almost Live, I was also Almost Live again was the name of the show. I was also freelancing for the Tonight Show. This is way
Oh, that's
back when it was hosted by Jay Leno. I was writing monologue jokes. Jay and I knew each other from the show. He had been a guest on the show a few times, and he invited me to be one of the writers who submitted monologue jokes to him. So what I would do is I would write 20 jokes every morning. I'd get into work early, read the newspapers, yes, actual physical newspapers then, and write 20 jokes and fax them to him. Again,
Yes.
so I had the private fax number. And when I first started doing that, it took me maybe an hour to an hour and a half to write those 20 jokes. After a few weeks, I could write the jokes almost as fast as I could read the news articles. I basically got my 20 jokes whipped out in 30 minutes. I mean, 20 submittable jokes.
Right.
And I was able to get them done in a half an hour. Why? Not because I became a better joke writer. Well, I guess that is part of it, but because I kind of knew what I was doing, just like anything else.
Yeah.
You mentioned in the introduction that I'm a pilot, and I'm a private pilot. But when I get on the airliners, you want a pilot who's done a whole lot of landings. You don't really want the guy who's working on his first, like, oh, I hope this is the one that works. You don't want that. When if you're gonna have eye surgery, you don't want to hear your eye surgeon saying, ooh, I did one of these about 10 or 12 years ago. I'm pretty sure I still remember the gist of it. Just like anything else, you get better and better the more you do it, which is why I have a huge problem with teams and organizations and this is most of them, unfortunately, they seem to think that innovation is reserved for the crisis. Like
Yeah.
it's
Right.
you know those red fire alarm
Yeah.
boxes that are in public building that, in case of fire, break glass, and there's a little hammer in there or whatever's in there. Um, I feel like some organizations treat it like there's one of those red things up there saying, in case of emergency, innovate. Well, here's the problem. If you only innovate when there's an emergency or a crisis, it's it's like if you only use Adobe Photoshop once a year and you go, okay, now how do I select this one part of the, how do I change the color? I don't remember. Whereas if you use it every day, it's just absolutely automatic. Yeah, exactly. There we go. It becomes automatic. If you just innovate once in a while or when it's absolutely necessary, you're already behind the curve. Look, it's better than nothing. But you
Yeah.
compare that to a team that's got innovation built into its culture, into its core, where innovation is part of its DNA. They already know what to do because they're already doing it. That's the difference, as you said, between our first show,
Yes.
show one, season one, show one, and season 15, show 26, our final show. After
Wow.
15 years, we knew how to do because we've been doing it every week. On those first couple shows, we were still trying to figure it out. Wait, what do we do? Is this going to work? No, this didn't work. Okay, what about this? Is this? By the time we got to season 10, 11, 12, whatever, we knew what we were doing. When a challenge came, here's the difference. And here's
Yes.
the part where it
I read this part.
really feels
Yes.
cool. Yeah,
Yes.
here's the part where it really feels cool. And I think most organizations can relate to this. In the beginning, we hit a challenge and it's like, oh, okay, we're yes, I'm have to watch my language. Oh crap. What this is like, oh. By the time we got towards the end of the run, it was like, oh, bring it on. Because this is where we shine. Like, oh, guest didn't show up, joke's not working. Bring it on. Bring it on. Because we know that nobody else can do this, but we can. Wouldn't it be amazing to have that feeling with your team in your business, wherever you work, whatever you do, where all of a sudden a disruption hits or a crisis hits or an emergency or even just something you didn't expect? It doesn't have to be a pandemic, just something, there's a supply chain issue or something, and you and your team can go, okay, bring it on. You've got this confidence of knowing that you know what to do. And the only way you can have that confidence is by making innovation a part of your DNA, a part of your culture, because innovation is the master key. Innovation is that master key that can unlock any challenge
Yeah.
that comes your way, no matter what it is, because we can't predict the future. We don't know what things are going to look like 1 year from now, much less 5 or 10 years from now. So how do you plan? Well, you can't plan specifically, but you can build up that muscle. You can build up that tool. Like if you go to the gym every day, you've got those muscles built up for that time when you've got to lift that, that car or whatever it is that you have to do.
Yeah, for me as a producer, things that used to actually, I was trying to read
course,
Rory Vaden's new book around, well known and well made, and then one of the things is trying to identify what the problem was, and one of the problems I think it says, well, he says you got to solve the problems of the person you used to be, and one of them was meeting terrors was the thing I wrote up, which is what happens when you get on your first virtual meeting.
Yeah. Oh,
you
yeah.
don't know where everything is, and you're live sometimes, and it's all
Right.
happening and all falling
Right.
apart. And that's like he says that's a person that I should really help, and that's part of my innovation has been now handling all those situations calmly. I kind of like the part here, Bill, where you just say, what if you could sell getting rid of terror in your or panic in your organization? I want to share this. So Sam Osborne is online watching with us, and he asked this question: what if an innovation wasn't about making something new, but about remembering what we've forgotten? Well, a good question.
That's a really intriguing perspective, Sam. I love that, and I'm going to look at that from a 30,000-foot perspective, because it really is about remembering what we've forgotten. We've forgotten that we are innovators, that we are creative, and those are not the same thing, but they're closely aligned. That for the purposes of this example, I'm going to kind of conflate them. Innovation is really a combination of 3 skills / traits.
Okay.
Curiosity. I'm blank on this. problem solving, and something else. Like well, let's just say those two. You know, because an innovator is curious about things.
Yeah.
And they love to solve a problem because that's what innovation is.
Yeah.
Well, who else do we know who is both curious and loves solving problems? Have you ever met a toddler?
Just saw one. We actually saw the smallest baby. It was like a 3-month baby that they had to put on the strapped earphones at a Mariners games yesterday. It was
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah. But babies and toddlers, I mean, babies are just hardwired to learn things.
Yeah.
They're curious about everything. Once they get to be toddlers, that's where you have to childproof everything in your house because they're so curious and they love figuring things out. They love solving a problem.
Yeah.
I have a section in my book that I call, I was very happy when I came up with this title. I don't know why. It's not that great, but I call it the toddler doctrine. I just love that, the toddler doctrine. And here's how it works. If you ever see a toddler playing with blocks, you know, like a 2 or 3-year-old, whatever, they're playing with blocks and they're completely focused. They're trying to figure out how to stack the blocks so they don't fall over. They're completely focused. They're in the zone and they are completely happy. You want to know how to take all that away from them? Show them how to do it. As soon as you show them how, no, honey, no, do it this way, they are not going to look up at you with big blue eyes and say, oh, thank you, mommy. Thank you, daddy. No, what's going to happen is they're going to get bored immediately because they want to figure it out. They are curious and they are problem solvers, which means, now, I don't know about you, John, but I was a toddler at one point, which means, and I think most of us were. Sam, I'm willing to bet that you were a toddler, Sam. Oh, man, look at you, John, on top of things. Sam, I'm willing to bet that you were a toddler and you had those traits also, curiosity and that just almost insatiable desire to solve a problem.
Yeah.
So we all have it inherently. Now we lose it. Sir Ken Robinson in his TED Talk, I think it might still be the most watched and most downloaded TED Talk of all time. It's certainly still up there. It's phenomenal. He talks about how the educational system kind of weans that out of us. And look, there are both good and bad reasons why we start to kind of lose that inherent sense of curiosity and creativity. It's not all bad. I mean, there are practical reasons why we do that. And we don't have time to go into that now. But it means that we all still, I mean, we were all born with the raw materials to be creative and innovative. We were all born with those raw materials. We just forget that we have them. So part of my job really is to, like I say, unleash it. Not, I mean, I call it unleashing because it's already there. I'm just unleashing the innovation that's already inside of all of us. I'm not giving anybody anything they don't already have.
Right.
You know, and maybe some ideas here or there, but I'm not giving them a trait that they don't have. They have it. They have the trait. That's why when I see those people in my workshops going like, oh, this is innovation. I can do this, because they've kind of forgotten that they already know how to do this. They just didn't know what it was that they knew how to do.
What's the best unlock that maybe you were a part of, right? I don't know if it was a product or a situation, a person, but like in that, you unlocked something. Do you have a story that you can share about that unlock?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything off the top of my head. The one thing that comes to mind, which I guess is the very definition of off the top of my head, I was doing an innovation workshop for it was a large credit union group, and I did the keynote. There's 1,000, 1,500 people there. I don't remember. It was a couple of years ago, and afterwards, I did a breakout session, a workshop, and I gave them, I don't remember what the specific activity was, but within 15 minutes, they kind of divided them up into groups or teams, whatever. In 15 minutes, one of the teams, I only gave them 15 minutes. One of them had come up with an entire marketing plan for their credit union, including taglines, visuals, advertising copy.
This is pre-AI too, right? This is like not AI. This is like
no, this is not AI. This is pre-AI. Just because I had given them a different way of looking at it, a very specific way of looking at it, because creativity loves constraints. So I created an artificial constraint. I said, solve the problem, but you have to do it within this teeny little, set of boundaries or whatever. And in 15, and they were giddy. They were just giddy. They said,
Wow.
no, we came up with like, we're actually going to use this. I mean, like this is really good. I mean, yeah, we'll refine it because we only had 15 minutes, but basically we did this. And again, I didn't give them this marketing campaign. I just gave them a different way of looking at their situation, and then they did the rest. And we can all do that. That's why, again, why I call it unleashing. I'm not giving them the answer. In fact, when I work with teams, when teams bring me in to work with their team, their leadership team, or their creativity team, or their product development team, or their sales team, whatever,
Yes.
my job is not to be the smartest person in the room. My job is to help them get the most out of their inherent smarts. My job is not to be an expert in their world. I'm not. When I go into work with, I worked with an organization that does basically armored trucks.
Oh,
Uh,
uh-huh.
it's armored truck people, which is really kind of cool. My job is not to be an armored truck expert. Now, yes, of course, I did my homework,
Yeah.
but I'm never going to know as much about armored trucks as they do. But I was able to help them see things differently because I'm not locked into a particular point of view or a particular, look, we all have blinders, and sometimes the blinders are this curse of knowledge. They know so much about their world that
Mm,
it's difficult to see it from a different perspective.
right.
That's
Right.
that's almost my entire job, to help them see it from a different perspective. Then they can take all their knowledge, all their product knowledge, all their industry knowledge, and just focus it a little differently and see things differently, see different opportunities that they couldn't have seen before. Again, I'm not telling them what the opportunities are. I don't know. I'm just telling them, hey, try looking at it this way.
Well, here's a good example of that because I was working with a Saudi Arabia group and they're a food company, and they invited me to see the final projects of a cohort after 7 different learning programs, of which I was one. So it was the first time I got to sit in on it. And this group puts together this program to sell food to Ethiopia, and it turns out like there's a whole bunch of things in common, like halal food and other things
Right.
that says that the food they make is something that people would like in the Ethiopian culture. And while they're going on with this presentation, I go to ChatGPT and ask how big is the food market. And then I went and asked them, and I'm like, so do you have any idea how big this opportunity is? And they're like, it's got to be maybe like 4 or 5 million. I found the fact, and it said it's a $6 billion market in Ethiopia
Oh my
for this type of
gosh.
food. And they had no idea how big. So sometimes too, the innovation bill is not just the idea. They concocted the idea all themselves. They just had no idea how big this
Right.
idea was.
Right.
Oh,
That's
uh,
that's fantastic.
I
But
got
it
one more
does.
question from Sam. Unless you got a comment
Oh,
for
no,
this.
no. Let's hear from Sam.
Sam says, thanks again, Sam, for tuning in. And he's chatting here on LinkedIn. What if innovation isn't random genius, but the rediscovery of what aligns with our highest values? Well, that's kind of metaphysical question there, Bill.
Wow, Sam. What can you possibly start throwing them underhand, make them a little easier to hit? Uh,
Little volleyball, little
I mean,
set.
Sam's just hitting this with these fastballs. Can you read that one more time for me,
Yeah.
John?
What if innovation isn't random genius, right?
Right.
But this is kind of like I think what your role is, the rediscovery of what aligns with that company's highest values.
Um, First of all, any innovation. First of all, innovation has nothing to do with genius. We all think it's genius because we all assume, because the name that always comes to mind is Steve Jobs, who was a genius.
Right.
But Thomas Edison had a really very average IQ. Thomas Edison was not a genius. In fact, Thomas Edison's whole model was, I find out what people need, and then I try to invent it.
Yeah.
In other words, I look for problems, and then I try and invent solutions. It's Some people get that. In fact, a lot of people do that in the wrong order. They
Mm.
invent things, but you're not solving a problem. There's no problem. So let's take genius out of the equation. But any innovation in a corporate setting, because he mentioned corporate setting, has to be in alignment with that company's or that business's values. It has to be. I give an example in my book. It's a hypothetical example. It says like if your innovative idea is to have a huge water slide in the middle of your lobby, but the law firm you work for prides itself on being dignified and blah blah, that okay, that might be a great innovation, but it's not in alignment with the values of the company, of the organization. So yeah, I mean, innovation does have to be in alignment with those values. I think he might have been speaking on even a higher plane, like personal values or something like that. That's beyond the scope of. I mean, it's a great. I I love that he's starting his questions with "What if." He's
Yeah.
not really asking a specific question. He's asking like, "What if?" And what I love about that, Sam, is that you're not really asking a specific question. You are kind of, sort of, but what if forces us to think about a situation differently. What if is a
Yeah.
great beginning of a question. So is how might we? How might we? Blah 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 blah. And there are a couple of reasons why that's a very good opening of a question for a team to work with. How might we? But the what if is like, you know, well, what if? What if that? It's just a great perspective shifter. So I love Sam is already just in the two questions that we've gotten. He's already thinking like an innovator.
Because he's being curious too.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, as I say
invite, yeah.
sometimes, innovation is not innovation is not a moonshot. It's a mindset.
Ooh.
And what Sam's got is that mindset. Now, look, if you've got the next moonshot, in your back pocket, by all means, go ahead and go for it. But innovation doesn't have to be the moonshot. You don't have to invent the iPhone to be an innovator. Innovation is just about solving a problem. And as you know, problems come in all different sizes and shapes. There are big ones, there are little ones.
Yep.
So even the little ones, if you come up with something that just solves a little problem or even a little annoyance, that counts. I think that stops a lot of people from even trying. They think, well, I can't invent an iPhone, therefore I'm not an innovator, therefore I'm not going to even try. But once people realize that, oh no, innovation is just solving a problem in a new and different way. You don't have to have an engineering degree or a Steve Jobs level of genius or anything like that. It's just solving a problem. Oh, okay.
I
Again,
think there's one key thing that is really important. I want to make sure and unlock before our time ends here too, is that we talked about a culture of innovation.
Yeah.
And I think, what's one thing that you might recommend to a manager or a leader of a group to help create that culture of innovation? Like, we already know the one, like, squash new ideas, right? We know that if you create that, you're not creating a culture of innovation, you're creating a culture of destruction. So I'm just curious, what advice would you give, or what tip would you give to a leader to help start creating that culture of innovation at work?
There are a couple of things. First of all, you have to make sure that everybody understands that it's okay to come up with ideas, even ideas that don't work.
Right.
Because even the ideas that don't work might lead to the ideas that do. I call it the idea that leads to the idea. But if people, just like you say, if somebody throws an idea out and immediately gets ridiculed for it, that person's never going to throw out another idea again.
Right. I've seen this.
So you have to make sure it's okay. You've got to make sure that everybody's got a voice. Now, look, there are specific techniques for how to do this, which we can go into at a different time, or if you bring me in to work with your team, that's what we'll do. But make sure you hear from everybody. I've made the mistake in the past of only listening to the loudest people in the room.
Yeah, right.
I mean, the loud people tend to win, because you and I both know, John, that only loud people have good ideas. The quiet people, there's no need to listen. The quiet people don't have good ideas. The introverts, which studies show is roughly 50% of us. So for those of you watching this, roughly 50% of your team identifies as leaning towards introversion. But there's no need to listen to them. There's no need to listen to the new person or the lower ranking person, because they don't have good ideas. I once didn't listen to the lowest ranking person on my staff when I was producing the comedy TV show. Because like the lowest ranking, it was my lowest paid writer, and we had a crisis. The guest didn't show up,
Yep.
and he had some stupid idea of how to fill the time with liquid nitrogen, which is like, no, we're looking for a guest to he completely he misread the situation. The situation was we were trying to come up with a replacement guest, and he's babbling on about liquid nitrogens. Like I say, the lowest paid writer, stupid idea, no need to listen. Till all of a sudden we were just coming up blank, and meanwhile the clock was ticking away. I mean, the show was that day. The guest canceled the day of the show. And so finally we thought, okay, all right. We better listen to our lowest paid writer, because who knows? I mean, probably nothing. So my lowest paid writer, whose name was Bill Nye, came up with this idea, and that night he became Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Wait, I got this for you, Bill. Ready?
Science guy.
Yep. And in fact, Bill Nye the Science Guy, in 12 days, I'm not sure the general public knows this, in 12 days, I will be with him in Los Angeles as he gets his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Oh, I was just on the stars earlier this year. That's so
Yeah.
cool. Congrats.
And this is a guy that I initially discounted because the lowest paid writer can't possibly have any good ideas. So I would say to all you leaders out there, first of all, you already are leading a creative team. Some leaders say, well, my team's not creative. We just make the widgets, but no, you're leading a creative team.
Yeah.
And if you don't think you just haven't unlocked it yet. You haven't unleashed that creativity. You're sitting on a gold mine. But make sure everybody feels heard and actually gets heard, because you never know. I talk about innovation and creativity being all about connecting dots. It's in my book, it's in my keynotes, connecting two or more things that already exist, but nobody's ever connected in a way before. So connecting these dots. And the thing is, you never know which dot is going to lead to the breakthrough. So if you don't hear a dot, like if Bill Nye had not popped up and said, I could do something with liquid nitrogen, if that hadn't happened, we wouldn't have had that dot available to us, and it never would have happened. Steve Jobs happened to take a course in calligraphy, of all stupid things, at Reed College. I mean, he was a computer guy. Calligraphy had nothing to do with computers, back then. But for some reason, he took this calligraphy course, not thinking he'd ever be able to use it. It was just like, well, this looks like it might be interesting. And then when he and Steve Wozniak decided to build their own computer, Steve Jobs, remembering that weird outsider dot, said, oh, wait a minute. Can we make a computer that can do calligraphy? Boom.
Yeah.
Created the country's first trillion-dollar company, Apple. And which eventually led to the development of the iPhone, which I'm looking at mine right now. I'm sure you have one right there. Yep, exactly. Right there. And I know all of you watching, you've got one too, don't you? Either in your pocket or very close. You've got one.
Speaking of which, did you see the announcements yesterday?
Oh, about the new products?
iPhone Air and 17 both came out yesterday. Wow.
Yeah.
There's some wild
Also,
stuff in there.
new AirPods that can do real-time translation.
I saw that too. I'll be curious to see what that's like.
Yeah, me too. So anyhow, listen to the dots, collect the dots around you. Here's your assignment. Here's your assignment for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I want you to do. Okay, you, John, but you, Sam, you, everybody here. Listen to a podcast you wouldn't normally listen to.
Ooh.
Read an article you wouldn't normally read. Watch a newscast you wouldn't normally watch. Like, just somehow do something you wouldn't normally do. But while you're doing it, don't just do it passively. Like if you're listening to a podcast on knitting and you work in nuclear physics, I want you to listen to that podcast or read that article with this question in mind. How can I apply, excuse me, how can I apply this to my situation? Not can I, but how can I apply this to my situation? Because if you ask that, your brain will try to answer any question you put to it. which is why the what if and how might we questions are so good. How can I apply this to my situation? And force yourself to come up with at least 3 answers. They don't have to be good answers. But all of a sudden you do that and you'll start to teach your brain, "Ooh, this is how we connect dots." Because if you only collect the same color dots, if you only ever read the same kinds of books or the same kinds of articles or listen to the same kinds of podcasts, the same kinds of music, the same newscasts, if you only ever hang out with the same people and talk about the same thing, you're not collecting different dots. You're basically collecting the same dot over and over and over again. But all of a sudden, you take a course in calligraphy, or you listen to that podcast about knitting, or whatever it is, all of a sudden you've got different dots. Now, they may or may not connect. You don't know, because you never know which dot is going to lead to that breakthrough. You never know that little calligraphy course taught by a Trappist monk named Robert Palladino in Reed College just outside of Oregon, just outside of Portland, Oregon, would lead to our iPhones. You never know which dot is going to lead to the breakthrough.
Well,
So
I have a good example of that, Bill. Oh, do you have a closing statement for
I was
there?
just going to say, so become a dot collector and
Yeah.
a dot connector.
Ooh. I want to share that at our National Speakers Association conference, that a lot of times when people ask me like, "Oh, great, anything else you need?" And I'll often ask, "Well, I could use a Ferrari." And I just want to share that finally one person at NSA.
Oh my gosh, you got your Ferrari.
She goes, "I got you a Ferrari." I just, be careful what you ask
Awesome.
for.
That's
So
right.
I thought it was really, really cool. I was going to head into this. I got an innovation speed lab. I've been writing questions for you while this interview has been going on.
Uh-oh.
If you'll be okay with it, I'm going to try and ask you questions, and you can answer or pass as fast as possible. Would that be okay with you?
Well, I'd look pretty stupid if I said, no, we're not going to do that. Sure, go ahead, bring it on. Bring it on.
Okay, great. And when you answer, I'll play some funny noise. All right. Favorite innovation?
Favorite innovation? The upside down ketchup pot. No. The curved shower rod.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Simple innovation solved a problem.
Top moment on your show?
Top moment on my show, very possibly the first Bill Nye the Science Guy, or could have been Joe Walsh playing Rocky Mountain Way in the studio during the rehearsal, or possibly Jerry Seinfeld's first appearance where he did me a huge favor.
Ooh, I do not know the story behind that one. But I have seen some of the others. By the way, you should subscribe to Bill on LinkedIn. He posts many of these and other stories I have not seen on there, which is great. Let's see. Best innovation that is not related to work, like just for fun.
You mean my work or just work in general?
Like something like leisure, an innovation that people made for non-work related thing, like something that humans just like.
Oh gosh. Made for non-work related things. How about the ice cream cone?
Oh, there you go.
It was
Now,
innovation, and it's solved a problem. It was at a World's Fair, I believe, and the person ran out of cups. So somebody next to him was making waffles or something. So that's an innovation. Had nothing to do with most people's work, but you got to admit that's a heck of an innovation. The ice cream cone. Where would we be without the ice cream cone? Come on.
That's right. Okay, best audience story. Best something that happened in your audience.
Oh, as a keynoter?
Yeah.
Well, this wasn't the best. Oh, okay. Okay. I'll try and make this short. I was speaking for a small organization, 90 people, and I was the opening keynoter, and I had an hour, and it was a pretty structured hour that I had to do. And the person on before, like the person running the meeting, the president, the CEO, whatever it was,
Right.
ran long. Of course, we've all had that. So I'm sitting there, smiling like nothing. But meanwhile, I'm thinking, okay, I guess I'm losing that story, and I'm gonna have to tighten this part up. And wow. So now my 60 minutes is down to 45 minutes. And then she says, okay, there's 90 people here. Now I've only got 45 minutes. She says, I'm just about to bring our keynoter up. You're gonna love him. But before I do, it occurs to me that a lot of us don't know each other because a lot of us haven't, we don't. So if we could just really quickly go around the room, each person like stand up and just really quickly tell us a little bit about yourself, your name, what you do, and a little bit about yourself. Really,
How long did it take?
there's 90 people there. Even if everyone only takes 30 seconds, which is not going to happen, that's my entire 45 minutes. Well, she realized within the first 5 people that she just made a terrible mistake. And she came to me and said, help, what can I do? I said, well, you can't put the brakes on this now. Plus they're enjoying it. I said, I'll tell you what, why don't I just speak? Do you have anything scheduled during lunch? No. Why don't I just do my keynote then? We'll just do that. But I couldn't, it occurs to me that a lot of us don't. So if we could just just one time, just really there's no way that was going to turn out well.
That's hilarious. All right. 3 quick questions. 2 of them are very easy, I hope. Okay. Favorite song?
Let's go with Hey Jude by the Beatles.
Oh, classic. Favorite dive?
Oh, favorite dive? Man, it's not there anymore, but after Almost Live, when we were on the air, I was living in a different part of Seattle, and there was this kind of dive bar that I would go to after the show. And because we taped the show like at 9:30, they aired at 11:30, and they put the show up on the TV, and people would buy me drinks.
Oh, yeah. The funny part is, I thought I meant dive like scuba dive.
Oh,
but that's okay. I actually like that.
Well, our minds went different places. Favorite scuba dive, possibly a cliff dive off Vancouver Island. It's a cold. It's a dry suit dive. It's cold. I mean, you're a scuba diver around here.
Yeah. All right. Well, last question too. What's a wish for your book? If your book could magically do something, what's a wish for innovation unleashed? There, I got
My wish is that it gets into enough hands that people start to realize this is accessible. Innovation is not a private club. It's an open playground. And this book is my ticket to this open playground because we are all part of this innovative world. We're all invited to play in the playground.
Outstanding. Bill, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, John.
Good
really
luck
good
with
this.
Oh, well, thank you. Good luck with your book. And the link is up there. Go get it from Amazon. Hurry up while you can still get some copies, either on Kindle or now the paperback. And check out Bill Stainton at any time. If your place needs innovation, you got to call Bill. All right? Any final closing comments, Bill?
Nope. I was gonna say if you need innovation, if you're looking for a great keynoter, if you want some help with your team to unlock their innovation, get a hold of me. But then you already did that, John. So all I would say is you are already innovators. It just needs to be unleashed.
Outstanding. Thank you, Bill. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, John. Take it easy.
All right, so we've been talking with Bill Stainton, right? CSP Hall of Famer and now author of a brand new book, who just says, you already have innovation in your play. You don't have to go find it. You just need to figure out how to unlock it. So I hope that you've been listening here. And again, special shout out to Sam Osborne, who's giving us a whole bunch of emojis on LinkedIn. And thanks for tuning in and getting your questions in. Hey, if you're watching here on social media, make sure to subscribe, share, like, and comment. If you want all the episodes, like this amazing episode with Bill Stainton, go to engagingvirtualmeetings.online and go to and get every episode of Amazing Virtual Meetings podcast, as well as a new episode every Wednesday. And last but not least, if you want to hang out with innovative, amazing, and some of the top engaging speakers, come to the Engaging Conference this year, October 28th through the 30th. We have tickets here. And now, this year, we are putting the audience on stage in the evenings. And so for those who are budding speakers who need resources like a video, we have one of the best places to get it while learning from 15 of the top engaging speakers. Hey, I'm John Chen, and you've been listening to the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast, and we will see you next time.
Don't we start people and keep people? Show you got heart.